Scorpio, welcome back to my channel, The Vibes Inside. I am Mariana and I'm preparing now to do your reading, Scorpio. So, well, today I have something like, I have like a message that says, you have to be prepared to die. And it's not like physical death in that understanding. It's to detach and give up whatever endeavor or whatever life you have, like that. To have expansion or enlightenment, you must have a willingness to detach and give up what you are maybe attached to in this life. You are in tarot, Scorpio is the death card. And for a long time when I started doing tarot and so I was kind of worried what that energy actually is. But I've come to understand that it's necessary to have a rebirth, right? To birth yourself again, or wipe the screen clean again, or that to start over. You must be willing to detach from what has been, what was, at least to have a different outcome. Even if we don't know what that outcome is. In most situations, let's just say that this is about a relationship. To experience a different outcome, perhaps with a new partner, you leave all the old experiences behind. Perhaps not just about forgetting about them, but actually letting them go. If we are somehow attached to old stuff and we bring it forth into the new endeavor we are trying to have, perhaps, like there must be a willingness to literally die. And I see it, I get this picture of literally like how the soul leaves the body when a person dies. There is no coming back to that body and living that life again with those memories and with all the people that have been in that life. It's like if you come back, right? It's like a clean slate. You're detached from whatever was. So I don't know if you are looking for that. Like if, let's say you're looking for a totally fresh new start over. But as I say, you can move to a new city where nobody knows you. But if you are still if the baggage of your life is still with you, you still have the same fears, or you still have the same urges, or you still have the same, it doesn't matter if you are in a new city. Yeah, and now I get a reference to witness protection programs. It's like this cut, right? You can't go back to the old life. Those who were in that life, you cannot be attached to it. It's almost like they are strangers. right? Or treat them a bit like that, like they are strangers, like you have no history with them. You are not attached to whatever they may feel, whatever they may demand of you, or whatever they may think about your new choices. Perhaps here, it's like when the soul leaves the body, it's for good, right? It's bye. I've had this experience, right? I'm out of here. I also get a sense of like this idea of wanting to escape the matrix or something like having a different life outside of the matrix boundaries or the matrix narrative in some way. To have that, like you have to detach from everything you know that has to do with that matrix. Whatever interaction you may have had, it's like the soul, when the soul leaves. Like to have a for the soul to return to its original state, or where they live or are, you could say, it must detach. Like it can have no, you could say, unfinished business in the human realm. You know, because then it somehow needs to stay around and attach itself somehow, maybe to someone else, to another living being. If it cannot have does it make sense? Like I hope it makes sense. Like to have a new beginning, you need to have zero expectations of outcomes or contact or starseer I get here. So what I always find about this card is this idea that something very big here is outside. It's outside looking in on something. Someone who's climbing here, right? Who's trying to figure something out. And something outside is watching it, right? Something big outside is watching it. And I have this feeling like when I do this reading today, it's like I'm the one outside watching something going on. You know, it's like when you watch a movie. Let's say it's an action-filled movie, right? A lot is happening. Bombs are going off. People are shooting each other. Like there is all kinds of fighting and blood and split and everything everywhere. But I'm sitting outside of it, just watching it. I'm not actually in there, right? If I was in there, it would be different. I would be maybe, running, and maybe I would be shot. Maybe I would be killed. Maybe I have this feeling of like being outside and watching in on something. Or having the ability to do that from time to time, right? That this idea that I can be outside, or if you want to be the one outside, the one that is detached from whatever is going on, right? I'm not actually in the film. I watch the film, but I know that I'm not in there. But you see, some people, they it's almost like when they watch the film, they become so sucked into it, like they were always almost in there, right? Like they were almost in there. So when something, let's say, terrible is happening in there, it's almost like they feel it in their own body, like they were hurt themselves. You know, like when if you are playing a video game, and every time, let's say let's say it's some kind of shooting game, like you are some kind of soldier or something, right? And every time someone hits your avatar, you die in the game, right? But you actually feel it in your body also, right? It's like it becomes so personal. You are so attached to your avatar in the screen, that you believe you are your avatar actually participating in there. So when it's shot, you feel it, right? In your human body, or as when you sit and you watch some creepy film, and you sit and cuddle up in your sofa, right, with your pillow, or if someone is hurting, like really have heartbreak in the film, you cry also, because you emphasize, right? Your empathy for what is going on is so big, right? But actually, and of course you could say, when your empathy is very big for what is going on in the movie, it could be almost like you were in it. You're participating there. You're actually in the room with them, or in the scene with them, right? But and I have this feeling of like, it's almost like being an outsider watching a simulation. A bit like the Truman Show. That's what I have. This feeling of like being able to stand outside and watching in. And then, like, as long as you are emphasizing with what's going on in the scene and the people there, as long as you are that, you cannot really have a new outcome. So let's say that let's say you are divorced, and you have history, right? You have history with your ex, and you have children together. Let's say that. So every time your child comes, it's like to you, and the ex is at home, right? They come to you, or they are now inside the door. The door is shut. You've said goodbye to this ex, and the child is now inside the door. You can stand and look at your child and emphasize with the fact that they just had to say goodbye, and it's not easy to travel back and forth if you're 6 years old. You can emphasize with the fact that, well, a child would probably prefer to have both mother and father in the room and or in the house together. Like, you can have an empathy that this is difficult and this is, but it doesn't mean that it's you going through those emotions. You can emphasize and you want to heal it, or you want to help, right? But you can't necessarily take that experience away from the child. It's still experiencing this. Maybe it's very happy to see you, right? So things are going on outside of us that we can empathize with, but it doesn't mean that it becomes us. Or we could choose that even though people are going through terrible times outside of yourself, it's a choice. Like, you can emphasize. And then you become drawn into their stories. You become drawn into their life, you could say. So their life is now blended with yours. Or you can choose to like detach more from it. Mentally, socially, emotionally, you can detach from it. And knowing that this is not mine, I'm just watching what's going on here. I get that feeling. That's like being the one that is outside and then watching in on something. Just observing, you could say, or watching. Yeah, I get a feeling of like a watcher. Not in a bad way necessarily. It's not a creepy stalker watcher thing. It's just someone observing what's going on here. Someone observing what's going on. It could be you. It can also be the feeling, I think, that people can get if they exit the matrix. Like in the New Age community and spiritual realm, there's this idea of you can exit the matrix, meaning that it's like you have a different view of your entire life, the structure you have been part of, like the idea of this living on the planet Earth and everything. It's like you become this spectator of something playing out. It's like you're watching the dynamics of the world from an outside perspective. And the more you detach from it, and you're not subjectively or emotionally involved in it, the more objective you can become. Like the more you can, you can see reason, you can find patterns, you can be more analytical, you can be more strategic in the way you are observing something. If you are detaching, if you don't love, you could say, or if you're not invested in some way, if you're not invested in you, if you have closed your emotion off and you're just observing someone else having a temper tantrum, if you are not emotionally invested at all, you can be rather strategic. Like you can watch this child have a very strong experience, but as long as you are not invested in it, you can decide whatever you want to do about that. You can discipline them, you can be angry, you can be silent, it doesn't really matter, it's not affecting you. You are not it, you're not enmeshed with it, you're not entangled with it, you have no feelings invested in it, it's not yours per se. What they're experiencing is not yours. It's their emotions, it's their responsibility to figure this out. That can also be for a child, maybe they need help, right? To get balance again. But let's say this is an adult who is aggressive and projecting a lot of stuff onto you. If you are not personally involved with them, if you have no heart investment in this relationship, like you can just watch this and be totally detached, having zero expectations of whatever is going to be the outcome of this. Like it's like you can just be this, okay, you're having a bad day, right? You're having a really bad day, I can see that. But I'm not invested in figuring this out for you. Wow. Second chakra, Archangel Ariel. Sacral chakra. The womb, sexuality, mother perhaps. Healer of the ages, goddess of the moon. These cards have come up several times during some of the other readings. Yeah, I'm not going into that right now. the healer of the ages could be an external energy that could be working with you right now. Or there could be a helper energy. Goddess of the moon, it has come across as something like wanting to reach beyond a boundary. You know, like almost being, like this external who wants to break through a boundary and point to something. That would be like a divine intervention, right? Like a feeling that someone is, so this can be, let's say that, let's say you are divorced. You have moved to another city. You know that the person is not with you, like they are literally back in that hometown city. They are not in the same city as you. But you can sit in your living room and still have the feeling it's like they penetrate the wall, the doors, and they are still in your mind, right? It's like something has a possibility of reaching through, even though you have separated yourself, even though you have, and this can only happen if you are attached in some way. That's what I'm trying to say here, like being in some way emotionally attached or being hurt by something, or maybe you have taken something personal and you have a hard time dealing with them not understanding, them not apologizing. As long as we are attached, we cannot have a subjective or a very, when we are attached, we are in it, you could say. Even though you live on the other side of the world, if you have attachment, let's say it's an angry attachment. Let's say you are angry with them. Let's say you are frustrated with them. Let's say you have love for them, but they don't love you back. Unrequited love, no matter what kind of emotional attachment, you can run away. You can move to Mars if you want to. As long as you still have those feelings, you are still attached to another person or a place or a situation. If you detach from it, this is where you can leave it. Now it's there, but not with you, right? I have this feeling of being the one that finally perhaps has been able to detach from something. And because they can do that, they are now seeing everything in its entirety. Not just what they wanted to see, not what they wanted to happen, not the outcome they were hoping for. They are seeing everything in the entirety because they have no investment whatsoever. They see everything in its entirety. Not necessarily with revenge or being, you could, because you're seeing everything now. You're seeing how things, as I said, it's like you have the ability to draw lines, like a criminal detective does. With the board, they put up all these pictures and events and everything, and they draw these lines of what fits together and what doesn't, right? So it's almost like being this criminal detective outside an event, right? I think it's also very difficult for a criminal detective if they are investigating a homicide case or a criminal act. If they are personally invested in it, this is going to be very difficult, right? Because you can't keep your head straight. Like you don't have clear thinking. I think the same with a surgeon, right? If they have to go in and operate on their own child, for instance, or their mother or their father, like it's not that difficult to have a clear mind, being able to be calm and relaxed and everything. If you have your own personal, if you have personal investment with this person, then you can't be detached or And sometimes we need to prefer that, right? Sometimes it's good that other, let's say, a mother is caring for a sick child. The way the mother is caring for the sick child can be overbearing. Like it can be utterly obsessed about helping, utterly obsessed about because they fear losing the child. They fear that it's getting worse. They fear that they're fearing their own grief, right? They fear their emotions, like the attachment is so strong. So sometimes you could say, would it be a more rational idea if another caretaker would take care of the child for some hours? Because they are not in the same way invested. Not to say that they don't care about the welfare of the child, but for some reason it has a clearer mind. Does that make sense? The more attached we are, the more we are obsessing about a person we can't have, the more cluttered your mind becomes. Like the more conspiracy theories you can have. Does that make sense? But if you have a way of detaching, your mind becomes clearer to this particular person or to this, and now I get door to spirit. If you are less attached to the matrix or your human relations, you could have more contact with spirit. First chakra, Archangel Michael, that could be something about your primal attachment style or primal attachments to other people that are either sucking you right into the very emotional realm and ties of human existence and everything in there, and being highly involved, highly empathetic, like highly enmeshed, highly involved in there. Or if you detach, you can have a higher level of spiritual contact maybe. And to me it actually makes sense, because people that go meditating in a monastery somewhere in Peru, right? And they detach from the world they normally live in. They detach from the people they know. And they sit in meditation to connect with spirit. If you really detach, you can have more contact with spirit. You will be more informed by the spiritual realm. And that's what I talk about, like exiting the matrix. It's like, suddenly it's like you are in someone else's company, perhaps. You get information that is now making you able to see a situation in an entirely different light. How consuming it may have been, how demanding it may have been, how it may have hurt you and kept you stuck in some way, how it has influenced you. Yeah, there's this feeling of being at least, I want to say, someone is a spectator here, or has found a way of being the spectator of a situation, and you may be able to hear the cries, right? Like those that want to call you back. You know, like they want you to be emotionally invested with them. They are calling you back into investment, right? But you may hear the cries, but not necessarily giving into it. these are like shame cries and blame cries and all kinds of frustration and anger and everything. It tries to hoover you back in, you could say. But if you stay detached from it, choose not to think about it, trying to remove yourself from a situation, the ones you have been entangled with, they may feel that you're leaving and they are trying to grasp you back, right? So again, I feel like there's something about this death concept that I want to say dying is not always bad. It's not always bad, right? In the sense that sometimes we have to let ourselves go through our own death process. The death process is detaching from whomever or whatever we have been involved in. Because if it feels right in you, I want to say, if it feels right in you to detach, to get further and further away, you would say, from something, to eventually being able to look at it from a spectator point of view, like watching a movie, right? But not getting emotionally involved in it, like what is happening in the movie is not my personal tragedy or my personal, I'm not in there. So you could say this could be a feeling of touching upon some shadow sides, perhaps. Because I don't think that this ability to be able to, like, in the human realm, we would say this is someone becoming very cold. Someone becoming very cold, uninvolved, not interested. Like, this is not, this is cold behavior. But, I don't think necessarily that it's a bad thing. I think that certain situations require that behavior. Like the surgeon. We don't want the surgeon to be personally involved with us if his mind is cluttered by it, because of it. Actually, we want them to be detached from us, because then his mind is clear, and it means that he thinks clearly about the surgery. That's what we want. Like, we want a clear-minded, objective, logical, rational surgeon, capable, clever, wise. We want all of that in those situations. We don't want them to be afraid. We don't want them to second guess whether they can do this, or we don't want them to feel emotionally out of balance, sad, or we don't want them to be like that. Actually, we want to be able to trust them with our lives when we lay there on the table. Sometimes people who have this kind of behavior, it's not because they are cold, calculated people. Of course it could be, but it's also because they have a job to do. They have a job to do, right? And to be able to do it, they need to detach. That's the only way they can have a clear mind. If they are always attached with their clients or patients or something, then it will never be a clear mind. It will never be to the point, you know. It will never be efficient. It will never be straight to the point. Like it would take the surgeon not 20 minutes to perform the surgery, but maybe 3 hours. Because they, you know, they will go back and forth and no, I can't, no, yeah, but what if this happens? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? And we don't want a surgeon like that. We want someone who is actually detached from us so that they can perform this. And maybe, Scorpio, I don't know, maybe you have a job to do. Or someone has a job to do. And because they have a job to do, they can seem cold. Or they could seem like they don't care. Or seem like they are not invested. They have a job to do. And in that job, they want to be clear-minded. They want to be able to make take the necessary precaution, make the necessary decisions. So actually, we do want them to be detached from us. If we have somehow, if we trust them with the job, they must be detached from us so that they can keep their clear mind to be able to do everything that we expect them to do, what we trust about them. Then they have to be detached from us. Otherwise, they will be entangled, emotionally entangled. And can you actually be a protector, for instance? If you are constantly so emotionally attached to something, can you be a helper? Can you be a healer? If you are attached to the outcome, you cry with them. You share their sorrows. You share their grief. You empathize so much with them that you actually almost become them, or you share their grief, you take it on. Can you be that one? Can you be able to help them then? A psychologist, who is sitting there to actually, a psychologist who is supposed to help someone else with their problems. Like if you become so attached to their feelings, if you become so, how are you supposed to help them then? If you take on their sorrows, if you become, in what way? Like if people are looking for help, they are not looking for someone to sob with them necessarily, right? They want the embrace. They want someone who is able to maybe you need someone to provide something that you can give yourself in the moment. If you are powerless in a moment, you don't want someone to be powerless alongside you. You want someone to protect you and maybe be powerful in that moment. And that's what I feel like. It's like someone is outside, perhaps because they have a job to do. They have a job to do. So maybe this is you. Maybe you're the spectator and they have a job. You have a job to do. And because of that job, you need to detach from whatever is in front of you. Otherwise, you have cluttered mind. You have cluttered emotions. You can't act, or you, what is that called? You freeze in the moment. You procrastinate. You don't take action because you feel like you are attached to the outcome. You're worried. You're worried to interact. Because what you are supposed to do, or like the job you're supposed to have, or the role perhaps, the role that others may expect of you, actually requires of you to be detached, but maybe you're not detached. And to engage with that role, to become it, to be it, to work as this. You haven't yet maybe figured out how to not become that emotionally involved somehow. Maybe that's the problem, right? That you are trying to figure out how to become someone who can do the job. Like there is a role to fulfill. I have to be able to manage this, but I feel this, that I get sucked into the stories, and when I do that, or when I have a hard time separating myself, and if I can't separate myself, I can't do the job. You know, something like that. That's what I feel like. Okay, I have this card. It's called Sacred Gratitude. It talks about reverent appreciation and prayer. You see, like she's putting her hand on the tree. I get two things from this card. I get something like, maybe you are a hands-on healer here. So like you have to put your hands on something. But when you put your hands on it, this is where you may have the problem, right? This is where you may get, feedback from the patient, and you get maybe attached to it, or, you get influenced by it. So when touching something, as a healer perhaps, you do have enormous shine here, like healer abilities. But the problem is if you cannot detach from it. So how can I touch but not touch? I said I have two messages. So one is this idea of you could be a tremendous healer. And when you touch people, it could be that maybe there's an energy transference where you feel some of this stuff that they are carrying. And you may have a hard time detaching from it, right? You could be influenced by it. The other thing that I get is that find ways where that the things that you touch actually cleanses you. That the things that you touch energizes you and not drains you. That the things or people you touch, that they maybe let yourself be healed from time to time by another healer, right? Because I think that you need it, or someone does. this can be someone who wants to like be in contact with you, and you are the tree here. Like you are well rooted, you have the healing ability, right? And someone would like to have contact with you because you heal them. But this can also be you, and you should be very like, think about what you touch, I want to say. If you touch something that is in need of healing, you may be someone who is so empathic that you take some of this on. So you have to be aware that sometimes you may need healing, or that you have to touch something here that has healing power for you. You have to be in contact with something that can reload your batteries. Prayer, reverent appreciation. So find ways where you can touch and be reloaded, right? With appreciation. I have a card here of door to value, and I think it's because someone wants to be a healer here, I think. Someone wants to have a job, you know, I want to have a job to do. I have a job to do. And I feel like I should touch, right? I feel like I should influence or have some kind of connection. But in order to actually do my job well and truly shine my light here, I must detach. I feel like I must find a way to detach. Door to value can be many things. Well, we see money flying around here, but it can also be something like self-worth. It can be the feeling of integrity. It can be the feeling of value, like that I have value, or what I bring to the table has value. I can actually take money for this. This can be my job. And maybe you want to be able to heal here. And I think you have great healing abilities. You come from a root line here of healers. Beautiful healers. But I actually want to say, it's not just healers. Again, I get this feeling of being the spectator of Earth, for instance, like something like being we see her here as a mermaid, right? It's like being a hybrid of some kind. Like having a bloodline where you are not just human, you are also something else. And because of this else thing, this other thing, you have the ability, if you somehow detach, you can look at something in the entirety. So maybe you have a way, like maybe your job is literally because you can detach. You can look at now I get a reference to, I don't know if you have seen that film or that series. It's called The Good Doctor. It's about a savant, autistic young man who is a brilliant doctor, but you know he has poor social skills. He may seem like he is emotionally very much detached from many people, even those close to him. But he has this brilliant savant way of scanning the body of someone and figuring out exactly how to fix it, but almost in a robotic way. Like not caring for whatever emotions that the patient may have. or whether it's almost like whether it's illegal or whether it's immoral or whether it's, but it saves the life. It will save the patient, the life of the patient. But it's almost like having this ability to scan and see and draw the parallels and everything. But you have to be detached, like you can't have emotional connection in here. If you are detached, your mind becomes extremely bright here, and you see everything very clearly, and you would know exactly where to go in on the body. Right? You would know exactly where to put your hands, because you just know. You see it, it's claircognizant, it's sentient perhaps. You can feel where it is perhaps. But you are emotionally detached from the patient. It's maybe a tough thing. I think it can be, it's a very logical, very reasonable, very wise, very but to the outside world, to others, it may look like you don't have empathy. Like you're not a very kind person, or you're not very engaging. It may seem like you are closed off or cold. So maybe, Scorpio, dealing with someone like that, like they may seem like they are pretty cold or closed off or something. They have a job to do. And when they are engaging with that job, they have to detach, right? Because from you or others. Because when they do, this is where the brilliance come in. Like this is where this shows up. This part of them shows up. And because of when this shows up, it has incredible healer abilities. But it may come across as cold, calculated, almost cynical, almost, it will do whatever it takes to bring you into health. Like to bring the patient or the one in question into health. But it will do whatever it takes. It cannot be attached to you. It cannot be emotionally involved with you. It will do whatever it takes to get you to health, or to heal you or save you. It cannot be, because then it will actually be a problem for you if they were attached. If they were attached to you, if they did show their emotions, they would not be able to perform the healing. They will not be able to do the surgery. They will not be able to it can be anything, right? I'm just trying to give an example. Maybe this is a bookkeeper, and or a bank assistant, right? And you just find them so cold. Like, why can't they empathize with my current financial state? Why do they seem so cold? Like they close the door for a new loan, or they won't accommodate me in any way. Why do I feel like there's no accommodation? It's because they have a job to do. Like they stand by the rules or the settings of the bank. They are complying with whatever rules and do you get my point? Like it's or a lawyer. Like you could talk to a lawyer here, and you would want them to empathize with your situation and like being a friend, being a human being. But they are just looking at everything from the law perspective of proof and law and order and legislation and everything. They may come across as pretty cold in some way, because they have a job to do. They cannot, if they get too emotionally invested. Now I get the film Erin Brockovich, because she's fighting for those families and she's very invested. And when things don't go her way, she blows up. Like she becomes so frustrated and so angry, and because she feels with these people, right? She feels with them. She has everything invested in it, and it makes her so likable. Like it makes we almost fight alongside her, right? But she would be better off, like, to help those people that are actually in need, that are ill because of this chemical plant or this chemical factory. Those people that are actually in need, they need someone who can play the game. They need someone strong. They don't need someone who blows up from time to time. They need someone who knows all the pitfalls, who can keep a calm mind, who can guide you straight to the win, right? Who can guide you to the benefits, who can guide you to the right lawsuit, right? They can guide you to win the lawsuit, right? But they can guide you if they also have to consider your feelings and be totally involved in you all the time. They can't at the same time be calculated and and what they're doing is just playing the game. They play the law game. Or with the good doctor, this savant doctor, he is looking at the body as like a project, like a machine that has to be fixed, and he finds way to fix it. But he may come across as a robot almost, being cold, being calculated, but that is actually the reason why he can fix it. That's the shine here, right? Of being someone who can come in here, put their hands exactly on what it is, or point exactly to this is where this is the problem, right? And because they can do that, it can't come across as very cold or calculated. But the reason why they are so skilled is because they are detached. So that's what I feel like I have here. So either you are this person, you know you have a role to do, or you know that there's something where you need to be detached. Because if you are very attached, you can actually not help them. You cannot fight the fight and win it, right? You will not do it in time. You will sit and cry with your client instead of doing something. You won't be able to take action. You will actually be frozen in time like them. Like if you empathize too much with them, you will sit there alongside with them. But that's not what they need. They need someone to take action. They need someone maybe to be cold and calculated. You need someone to play the game, because they don't have power. They may be ill. They may be, you can't emphasize too much. Like a doctor and a patient, there has to be a sense of non-engagement. Because otherwise, the one doing the role, the healer, the doctor, the surgeon, the bank assistant, the law person, if they emphasize too much, they can't make a decision. They can't play the game, right? If you are part of a football team and one of your co-players is hit badly in the play field, and they are hurting badly, you have to detach from that to be able to continue the game and play. If all the players emphasize way too much with this player, there are no players to fulfill the game. Like, you have to be able to somehow detach yourself, let others take care of this one who is hurt. Let this player be taken outside of the field and be treated there. And then you concentrate on the game, right? To fulfill the game, to play the game. If you get too attached to the outcome of someone out there, you can't focus on the game. You can't play your best. You can't be your best, you could say, or you can't shine that beautiful light of yours here if you don't find a way of detaching. But this can be easier said than done, especially if the one in question is, let's say, an ill parent that you're taking care of, or like a mother, a father, a brother, a sibling, a child, someone close to you, or let's say it's your brother's or sister's children, right? That you can see that they're hurting, but you have to because what happens is that you can go to the family and you emphasize so much with it. You grieve with them. You feel the sorrow. You sit there, you hold their hands. But what they may actually need is action. What they may actually need is someone who speaks with a clear voice, who speaks with those who can actually change the game. We want someone who thinks clearly and can speak directly and point to whatever needs to be done and keep the momentum and stay strong in it, right? That's what we need if we are the weak ones, or we are the one who needs help. So a healer must be able to somehow maintain a sense of boundary or a sense of detachment to the patient or to the client or to the one in question if they want to find a good solution, a clear-headed, logical, good, solid solution. You can't if you constantly get too involved with the patients. But if you stay clear-minded and you're not personally involved, you don't hold a grudge, or you're not emotionally attached to it. There is a reason why doctors don't treat their own family, right? Because they're not objective. And that's exactly what is needed perhaps in this situation. In this situation that you may be in, it needs objectivity. That's what we want. If you sit beside one of your dear ones and you're very sad that they are ill, or you're worrying that they are maybe dying, like the doctor that comes in, you don't want them to sit alongside you like that. No, you want them to figure out what's wrong. You want them to come up with a plan. You want them to do the surgery. You want them to do something. Because you cannot. You are emotionally invested. You sit here, you cry with them. You hold their hands. You are enmeshed. You are entangled in their problems. And sometimes that makes us, if we feel powerless, that we cannot heal them. We want the healer to come in and heal them. If we feel powerless in some situation, we need someone who can do something, not someone who gets powerless like us in the moment. Empathy is good. It's definitely valid. It's definitely important in life. It's definitely important that something or someone does have empathy for us. But sometimes we also need the other one. And sometimes, even if you are the one who is close to, maybe you need to be that one. If there is a particular role to play. Let's say you are the son of someone who gets very sick, but you are also a very skilled surgeon. Now you have both, right? You both have your emotional attachment, but you also have your capacity as a doctor. You can talk to other doctors. And in the moment when you do that, you become that one. You become the doctor. And you point straight to the point of what you think this is. But as soon as you enter the realm where your parent is, you become the son again. The one that is emotionally entangled. Maybe you have found that you have ways of being both, that sometimes you find yourself being very, very attached and very enmeshed. And at other times you are quite cold and maybe also to the point of being cynical or calculated. Like maybe you are feeling both, that you have both. What could help you in this situation could be this, that you have sacred gratitude for the things that you know. Again, it's like it becomes red here when she touches the tree. So maybe you do have like an almost a savant-like awareness or knowledge here, how to pinpoint exactly on where someone is hurting or where someone is having an issue. But then at the same time you have to withdraw from it, because otherwise you get too attached to it. Right? There is something about that. You have to find places or people or where you can be reloaded, I feel like. Something you can touch that is not breaking your boundaries. It's important to find places or people or groups that you can touch, because it's reloading you. So if you are a healer, I feel like find others that can heal you as well. Right? Someone who can heal you, because you will need it from time to time. Otherwise you can get depleted. In whatever investment this is, maybe this is about, well, she could be a mother, this one, and a mother can be very highly in tune with their children. She can be very invested in that, to the point that she depletes herself. So find places or rituals that can reload you, I feel like. The sacred gratitude card is about finding a source of some kind that can reload you. This card brings a simple but profoundly important message to you. The woman peacefully stands alone in a quiet forest, reverently placing her hands on an ancient tree. With eyes closed, she feels a deep connection to the towering tree, truly appreciating its graceful, majestic presence in her life. This card is telling you to let go of external concerns long enough to spend some time in sacred gratitude. The reverent appreciation calls for you to pause and reflect, to truly feel the value of your life and of your earthly environment, down to the depth of your very soul. This is not so much about listening to all of the good things you already have, as it is about simply experiencing the wonder of being one with nature, one with your soul, and one with the planet and everything on it, This mystical approach is easy to adopt through a meditative thought, a deep breath, and a quiet smile. Yeah, I think this, again, I get this spectator. And I feel like this spectator is doing this to cleanse themselves, to know that I'm part of something bigger. I've realized something. I'm part of something bigger. I've found ways to reload myself, to give myself exactly, or to, let's say, build yourself up with confidence, value, self-worth, something that you have found a place, something where you are connecting with something bigger perhaps than yourself, the towering tree, like the deep, deep roots of old ancient knowledge or wisdom. It's filling you up. And it fills you up especially when you are not attaching to a narrative or something that is happening here. It's like taking yourself into the forest, and in that forest it's like you detach from everything else in your world. You touch the tree. You know that you are in this zone where you feel you are part of something bigger. And in that process, this is where you are reloading. You are reloading your batteries. But this feeling comes when you are outside of maybe your work, maybe away from your home, your family. Maybe you need time in the forest or by the sea or something. Because that's when you get in touch with something bigger than yourself. That is when you feel your roots more. That's when you are in gratitude of what you know and what you are and what you are part of. But it comes especially when you are not engaging or close to something, I feel like. Again, here's, look at this card, 7 of fire here. Look at the horse. It stands on top of the mountain alone, engaging with spiritual, like sacred knowledge, sacred wisdom here, right? But the horse or the unicorn here is quite alone. Maybe it's in these alone moments on the mountain or in the forest that you have this clarity, where you feel you have, because you are detached from everything else, you have all these like maybe these beautiful downloads, maybe this knowledge, maybe this absolute beautiful shine. Maybe you feel you are in contact with something like this when you are disengaging. But there's maybe a sacred space. Maybe the forest is very sacred. Maybe there's a holy place for you. Maybe there is a particular ritual you're doing, or a prayer you're saying, or something. And when you do that, when you have that practice, it's almost like you're in another realm, where you are suddenly, you see everything clearly. Suddenly it's like it comes to you. Suddenly you have awareness. This is where you see the clearest, because you're not with the people. You're not. When he goes down the mountain again, he can engage. You know, it would be a bit like, to detach is the way you have clarity to actually go in again and be amazing, you know, as opposed to staying in there all the time. Sometimes if you detach and have your alone moment, your quiet time, where you sit for a moment, you analyze the situation. Nobody is like in your awareness right now projecting stuff upon you. Actually, you're alone right now. You can look, when you are away from it, it's like everything becomes clearer. Everything becomes more apparent of, this is what I have to do. And then you can engage again, you know. But there can be this need perhaps to get out, to seek solitude, to go through the ideas, and then you figure something out. You figure something out, and then you go back, right? Or maybe you don't go back, but you could stay on the mountain here. As I said, people do that, right? They leave. They shave their hair off. They become a monk in a Buddhist temple somewhere. They sit there for half a year, just meditating every single day, figuring out something, figuring out their soul, right? Figuring out where they have purpose or what kind of role they have in life. What is their door to value in this life, right? How can they contribute? What is the, like, how can I come in with that particular value that people actually want from me, right? Where I'm stunning, where I shine, like where I am amazing. What is that exactly? Maybe you're trying to figure that out. I think that it could help you to seek that solitude, to find places where you feel like you reload and know that you're part of something way bigger. We saw the star card of this big seer, right? That looks at the person that is trying to climb the mountain or climb the staircase up to enlightenment. Someone is watching, right? It's almost like your soul is watching you, or something is watching you figure something out. But it can't engage in a very emotional way. If it's engaging you, it can't actually bring you the information you need. Like, it needs to come in with like these very precise pointers, you know. Otherwise, it becomes it won't help you. As I mentioned before, it won't help you. You can get those specific pointers, those direction markers. You can get them if you seek the solitude here. If you engage with spiritual knowledge, in prayer, in meditation. We know that, right? Usually people, if they sit in meditation, suddenly, now they know what to do, right? We know it when we go to sleep and we want to rest, we want to calm down, we want to find rest, we want to find peace. Then suddenly you remember something. But when you are constantly engaged with something that keeps being, as I said, it's easier to sit outside and watch what could be done if you're watching a film, right? But you're not personally invested in that film, you're not in it. It's easier to be the one that says, oh, why are they not just doing that? They can solve the problem just by doing that. Or I know who the murderer is, right? I sit here and I know who it is. It's because you're not in there. It's like the television commentator who is watching from above. He sits up and he's watching a football game. He can see all players at once. Like, he can see who is free. Like, why don't you play the ball to this guy over there? Because he's free and he has free access to the goal. But when you're in the field, you can only see what's like in the same horizontal plane as yourself. You don't have the vertical abilities to lift up. You can't see things from above. So you look up and you're trying to figure out who can I play, while you are trying to avoid one of the other players from the other team, right? You are trying to keep the ball still, and then you're looking, who can I throw this ball to, or who can I pass this ball to, while you are still avoiding the enemy. It's easier to be the one who is outside, who is not involved in this, who is not in there. Because they are detached, they see everything more clearly. They see it from above. They can have a metacognitive view over everything, like an eagle. They are not in there. Because they are not in there, they don't feel the threat. They don't have to avoid the obstacles. If you want an advice from someone in your current situation, you need someone who is detached from that situation. That's also why, following an advice from a friend who is in the same league as you, or who is in the same kind of work as you, is probably not going to help you. If you want a way different salary here. Advice from your parents, if they are middle class or poor people, it won't help you. You need advice from someone who is outside of that, to see what is your issue here. Okay, I would recommend you to do this and that and this and that, because they are not attached to your story. They are not attached to all the pain and hurt and suffering in there. You need someone who is outside, sometimes to pinpoint something that you haven't even looked at. Maybe they're pinpointing, areas of work that you have never even considered. Because if you listen to your friend or your parents or your siblings who have, you are enmeshed in the same soup, you all come from the same soup, then you can't leave it. You will stay in the soup. You will never have gourmet dinners. You stay in the soup. When you listen to advice from those who are also in the soup like you, it won't help you. You need an outside source or an outside mentor or something. Maybe you are the one who can be that mentor for others, but then you must not be attached to what it is that they're experiencing. If you have an outside guide, let's say you have a spirit guide, maybe you you can't feel a strong heart connection, and you just feel like you get all some downloads or some hints, but they seem rather cold. It's probably because they can see exactly what would be good for you. It's because they can. They're not attached to you. Let's say someone like Jesus, if he would be personally attached all the time to the people he would heal, he would never be able to move on and heal the next one. It takes a certain bubble of detachment or integrity or something to be that kind of healer. Know what actually feeds you, what actually nurtures you, but also know that if you are dealing with something that needs healing and you can be the healer, that you cannot attach yourself to it. Then you can't help them. You cannot be in the same emotional mess with them. Be entangled in that. Feel the same. like feel all the shame and blame and whatever, all the guilt and emphasize, and like then you are just molding in this bubble. If you want to break it, if you want to break those chains, if you want to get out of this bubble, you have to detach from it. Or you need to seek a healer who is detached from that. You need to find someone who is outside of that thing. Otherwise, if you find advisors who are in the exact same position, or the same income level, or the same, you will never succeed. You will also need to detach maybe a bit from those friends or those family members. Their advice is not helping you. It just keeps you put. Even if it seems cynical, even if it seems like you just have to cut your ties, just cut all ties with your family. Yeah, but if you are very close with your family, that doesn't feel right, does it? But it doesn't mean that it's bad advice. It just means that it's advice that comes from an outside source that is not attached to this, and they can see something clearly about your healing, your personal healing. We may not like the advice, but it may still be a good advice. Right? We may not like the advice, but it could still be very, very good advice. Actually, the only good advice. So who are you trusting? Do you trust those that are very close to you? Your friends? You have had these friends forever? Or would you consider trusting others here? That because they are outside, because they are spirit guides, perhaps God, or would you consider trusting them, having faith in this, and what you may be guided to here, even though it may not feel right? It could be that it's like maybe you're listening to some kind of advice here from something that is not like you. Again, listening to the advice of the trees, it's not like you. It's different than you. It's very big here. But actually listening to something that is outside of your comfort zone could be a very good advice. You feel into the idea of if this could be true. What if it's true? What if it would be a good idea? I had this, like when I started my spiritual journey, there was a healer telling me that it would be a good idea to detach from my family, especially my father. And at that point, I just couldn't even imagine not having my father in my life. Like that seemed so wrong. Until I got further along in my journey and I figured out that I was highly codependent on my father, with my father, that I felt I couldn't make a decision almost without him, or that I felt that he was my safety net, that I didn't trust myself enough to be on my own 2 feet. I listened to his advice. I did what he asked. I was the good, nice daughter. I stayed in line. I stayed at the same level as him, income-wise and job-wise. I never imagined that I should ever be able to do anything else or be anything else or even think or speak differently. And today I know I should detach. I know it's the right thing. I am detaching from him because he keeps me, like his way of seeing the world keeps me, if I listen to him, in a very, like it's a limited state to be in. It keeps me in a limited version of myself. And these round of readings, I feel like I am touching upon something that I always get a hint of it when I do the Aries reading. In the Aries reading, I talked about something distinct and something extinct. So something quite particular that is maybe not here anymore, or it seemed like it has been gone, or I can't get contact with it, or it's not in my vicinity, you know. And what I'm talking about here is actually something about like growing a worth. Like it's something about awakening something in you that is perhaps a job that you need to do. But to do that, you may need to detach from whatever you may know in your life. To find the real life purpose, you may need to detach from whatever you know, whatever you've learned, whatever you have learned from your family, even though they could, it could be with good intentions, like their advice and everything they have guided you to do could come from like concern and good intentions, but it's not maybe helping you at all. If you still feel like you have no roots, if you feel like you have no compass in life, if you feel like that you don't know where you're supposed to go, it's because you're listening to the wrong advice. Maybe you should listen to something else here. Right? Maybe you should listen to something else that is different than you. Because you could learn something about yourself here. This is in the root position, so this has to do with your roots. It has to do with who you are. If you listen to something else, it could actually, because it's outside of your normal life sphere and comfort zone, it could pinpoint directly into what you need to do to get out of your current situation. And the reason why it can do that is because it's detached. It's because it's not your best friend. It's not your parent. If you want to change your life dramatically, if you want to have more money perhaps, or you may need to do something, rely on something that maybe it doesn't seem like it has a lot of empathy for your situation. Maybe it doesn't seem like it has a lot of like heart for you. But it may have knowledge. It may have like clear thinking. It may be a good advice. At least if you truly want this, and this is what you go for, listen to it, right? Listen to it. Because it may actually, there may be quality here. It may be a good advice. It may take you from one situation to another. You can have a lot of new things coming into your life if you stay in the same soup. Right? And you keep engaging with the same crowd or the same kind of people, or the same advice, or the same stories, or the same narrative. You have to detach from that. But detaching also means that, you may need to cut bonds with people you love. And they may want to hoover you back, as I said, because they don't get it. Like, they don't understand why you're suddenly so cold, or why you're suddenly so cynical, or why you're suddenly so, it's because you want a different life for yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or maybe someone else wants that. Like maybe you are looking at them and wondering why they are so cold, why they are so detached, why they are so, like they seem like they don't care. Maybe it's because they are trying to change their life around. Maybe you're the one trying to change your life around. Awakening something ancient, something that may have not been in your family bloodline for centuries. Maybe you've never been, rich. Maybe you've always been poor. Right? Maybe you are one who wants to break the social inheritance, like the social heritage of lack or being poor. Maybe you want to break those ties. Maybe you want to get out of that. But you cannot stay and get out at the same time. So detachment and maybe sacrifice is needed if you want to go to the next level here of some kind. That's what I feel like I have here for you. It's necessary. You have to find ways of listening to something else that feels sacred and right for you. Sacred gratitude here. What can actually lead you or help you? Maybe cleanse yourself, or detach from the old pattern to actually have the new life. A different life. To have a different life away from problems, maybe. That is what happens in a witness protection program. To protect the witness or to protect the one who has certain information. You take them totally away from everything they have engaged in. You're taking them away. Like they can no longer engage in the life they had. Friends or whatever was here, no matter how engaged you were, no matter how much you love them, you have to have this clear cut. Otherwise, you could get in danger again. Like you are taken out of this because you have something that is worth the while to protect. Maybe you know something, right? Maybe you are a witness of something. Maybe you have some kind of knowledge that is important. It's important to save it. It's important to keep it safe and protected. That's maybe why you're taken out. Maybe you see yourself walk away, literally separate yourself because of it. You cannot be engaged. If you are engaged, you are in problems, you are in trouble. That is what I have here for you, Scorpio, this time around. To awaken this special thing in you, or to have access to this special knowledge, you have to cut something. No matter how cynical it seems, or no matter how difficult it seems, or no matter how ruthless it seems, you have to cut it out of your life and embrace only the things that can get you to your end goal, or that can help you become this. If there's a special role you have, as I said, the witness in a witness protection program, it has a special role. It's a witness. It's a protected witness. They know stuff. They are seen as important. That's why, like, the institution behind the witness protection program literally initiates a new life for them. Like they give them a new identity, they find them a new home, they a new job, new life, new circumstances, new country perhaps, new everything. It's because it's of value. They have value. They have value, right? They have value. That's why they are protected. That's why they are cut out of something. Again, you can be someone like the one, if you believe in the idea of one of the chosen 144,000, that you could hold some kind of information. And when this is becomes more awakened in you, what happens is usually that you do get detached. Like suddenly people don't, you could lose them. Things happen to them. They're taken out of your life. You're taken out of their life in some way. Mysteriously. Suddenly they're not there. Suddenly you find yourself alone. Most chosen ones, those 144,000, most of them walk alone. They cut the ties. They have to. If they don't cut the ties are cut for them. So maybe you feel like ties are being cut for you, or that maybe you're standing here almost at the top of the mountain and you see it clearly now. Like you see that you have to detach. You see you have to make this last move in order for the doors to open here, or in order for this new life to happen, for a shift to happen, or a rebirth to happen. You know? That's what I see here for you, Scorpio. Something particular and maybe extinct. You can awaken it, or you can have access to it, but there could be a sense of sacrifice or loneliness with something, but still extremely purposeful for you, because it opens the door to something else. Even though you don't know what that exactly is, you could still be doing it. Like you could be in a rebirth process without really knowing it. But if you recognize what I said to you, this idea that you become more estranged with your family, you become estranged with friends, you have even lost them or chosen not to have them in your life, you find yourself more and more alone. That could be why. Because you're walking a path of trying to rekindle something here, break through to something, have more and more access to this, doing more and more, maybe like more sacred or ritual kind of behavior. You're choosing more of this than being engaged with something else. You choose solitude more, and the engaging with these advisors here or mentors. And you're doing that more and more to have the shift here. You are aligning your energy more and more with whatever shift you are trying to accomplish here. But to the outside world, yes, it may seem like you are detached, you are cold, you are cynical, you seem calculated, or you seem like you don't care. Maybe you don't care. Like this is more important. You have your eyes on the prize here, whatever that is. You have your eyes on the prize. You may seem like you're rather cold, detached, uninvolved, don't care. It's one of the sides of Scorpio. And then you have almost the opposite. You can love unconditionally. Maybe the reason why you are cold and detached right now is because there is something here of value that is that you do love unconditionally. And that's the reason why you detach something else, right? This is what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope this helps somehow. Yeah, it's repeating. It's the same thing. You detach from the things that are not in favor of where you are going or what kind of life you want. Detach from it and find the things that actually reload you here. And you may find more and more access to that when you are alone, on top of the mountain, when you meditate maybe. When you become more and aligned with maybe a sacred life in some way. A sacred purpose. I don't know what it is, but something, and it could be something that you've never thought about. Because where you grew up, as I said, when you listen to the advice of your parents or your best friends, like they may not work in this field. They may not be here. They may not be in that field. They may not, they don't execute that kind of job. They don't have those kind of hobbies, you know? And you must detach more and more from that to actually figure out whatever this is for you. What is the door to value? What can make you happy? Where do you feel worth? Where will you have confidence? Who are you here? Who are you? Right? So that when you know who you are, you can find that confidence by actually going there, going towards it. But it could be something you've never ever thought about because you listened to those who were around you. And you never found purpose there. You never found compass. You never found a sense of, this is what I want to do. Because it's not here. It's not here. It's somewhere else. It's something else. And this is what I think that you can figure out if you dare to listen to an outside voice, dare to listen to an outside healer, right? That's what I feel like. And I remember what I did. This healer that told me once that I should detach from my father. I couldn't do that. So what happened? I never went back to that healer again because I didn't like her answer. She didn't tell me what I wanted to hear, but actually she was telling me exactly what would be the right path for me if I should listen to my core, my inner me. If I should be true to myself. She was pointing me directly to it, but I just couldn't. At that point, I was way too codependent. I couldn't think clearly. I was way too enmeshed. I couldn't make a clear, rational decision at that point. You see, today, now I know that the detachment was inevitable. It is inevitable. No matter how much I would like maybe for some reasons to hold on to it, it will never ever help me get to this. Maybe these two are combined, right? That whatever you know and whatever you are here is the door to your value. When you realize who you are here, they start opening. Because you're no longer hiding who you are becoming who you are. Full flesh and blood here, right? And we should maybe let the tower fall. Maybe we should let whatever you have built for yourself in your life, you should let it fall. You should let it die. Because it's not real for you, it's not in alignment with you, it's not helping you. Not if you feel unhappy, not if you feel purposeless, not if you feel powerless, not if you feel unhappy. You are literally not where you want to be. You need a rebirth. I said in the beginning something like, we shouldn't be afraid to die. Like we shouldn't be afraid to give up everything that we've learned. Whatever attachment you have to your family, a family name or inheritance from that, you should be able to just detach from it. Rewrite your story. Start again. So we shouldn't be afraid to die. That's actually what I get here. We shouldn't be afraid to detach. It's because what happens is that you become more and more unknown to them. It's like they don't recognize you anymore as the one you were. It's like you become a stranger. You become someone that they are no longer aligned with you. You have nothing in common anymore. But you shouldn't be afraid of that. What you're doing is that you're moving more and more towards what you actually are, maybe your soul purpose here, who you are, what you are. And you have a job to do, perhaps. The 144,000, they usually feel like that. It's like they have a job to do. They have something to do here. They are chosen to perform something, do something, be something. And in order for you to be that, become this, you need to let go of everything else. No matter whatever projections or, whatever guilt tripping or whatever. It's like, yeah, you actually have to die in that sense. Become something else. Rebirth yourself. To awaken this extinct thing in you. Something very particular and something extinct. To awaken it, you have to be born again, you could say. Rebirth yourself. Transform yourself. You are the 8th house. You are all about occultism, mysticism. You are all about this. You are the embodiment of transformation. You are the embodiment of death, transformation and rebirth. It's in you. It's everything you are. You have it in you. That's also why you have these very different sides to you. You can love immensely and unconditionally. You can die and rebirth yourself. Because of the love, perhaps. Because of the love you have, you can rebirth yourself. You can go through it all. And you're shaped like that. You're created like that for a reason. This is what I feel I have for you, Scorpio. I hope this helped someone out there. It's important to find what reloads you, what is right for you, what is the right environment for you also. Where can you find nourishment to build up that power that you actually have, I feel like. Look at this card. You are very powerful here. But it may still be dimmed, it may still be not quite actualized. And to get to the next level of something, or to actually start shining like this here, you must let go of something, I feel like. And it may seem like a big sacrifice. It may seem like it's a big thing, a big deal. Or inhuman, it's inhuman, but maybe you are not human here. Look at her, right? Maybe you are not here for a human purpose. Maybe you're not here to be human. She has the fishtail here. Maybe you're not, maybe you're a mermaid. And because you are a mermaid, you can detach from the human realm in a different way. You're not involved in that, or you can choose to detach from it. And when you let her speak here, she has a very important message. Maybe she can pinpoint exactly on something that needs to be seen or said and done, right? But only when you connect with her, you can do this. Or this part of you, or when you listen to this voice. So please take it from an outside source, even if you don't like it. Even if you don't like the advice. Think about it. Let it stir in you. Let it simmer in you. Like I did. Like when she said it in the beginning, I said, but I can't do that. I told her, I said, I can't detach from him. Like he's like the safety net. He is everything I know, right? He is also I trusted in him. And then I started my journey, and eventually I realized maybe what I have been trusting in doesn't actually apply for me. It's not helping me. I feel unhappy. I'm not happy here. I'm dependent. It's not happiness, it's not love, it's dependency. It's not that I feel that he has been advising me to grow and become the best version of myself. I have become dependent on him. Actually, I was less. Actually, I had no independence. I was utterly and totally dependent on him, like a child. I had been limited. The advice that I got limited me. It didn't evolve me. It didn't make me grow and become reassured of myself. It didn't make me feel strong. It made me feel weak and therefore dependent on him. That was the advice that I got. It was where I grew up. I can rely on that. I need another mentor, right? I need someone who actually wants to see me grow, who wants to see me have integrity, who wants to see me have boundaries, who wants to see me from a crippled state actually rise up again, right? To evolve and spread my wings and stand tall and straighten my back. That is the mentor I want. So we shouldn't be afraid of listening to advice that doesn't right in the moment seem like it's accommodating. It could actually be exactly the advice that you need to become the one you truly are, and to open the door to whatever success you're looking for here. Freedom, self-worth, money, cornucopia, the beautiful life you want to have, purpose, whatever it is. That's what I feel like. You should allow yourself, don't be afraid to die. Don't be afraid for the rebirth, even if you don't know what's on the other side of that door here. What it actually is. Many people seek money. I did that also at a certain point. I thought that if I just had more money, I could have the life that I wanted. But I know today that what I truly want is freedom. Not being limited by old beliefs, being utterly, you could say, detached from my old life. That is what I truly seek, so that I can actually try and build that life that I do want. Money can be part of it, but actually it's way more than that. It's a sense of breathing freely, not being afraid, knowing I have worth, knowing I'm capable, knowing I can do whatever I want. That is more important to me. The feeling of self-worth, the feeling that I matter, the feeling that I'm important, the feeling that I can do stuff. Because that is the thing I was not given. That is the thing I didn't have. And it kept me small, you could say. So I don't know what this is for you, but I know that it's something important, something freeing, something maybe very passionate, right? You are very passionate sign, Scorpio. So this could be following your passion in a major way, right? But we need to find those that actually can help us go there, not those that keep us in a current state if you are unhappy there. So seek those that actually want to challenge you, right? Seek those that see beyond the veil. See those that listen to those that are actually telling you where to go. Because she was right. That healer. She was right about it. At that point in time, I just wasn't ready to listen to it. You know? That's what I have here for you, Scorpio. I hope this helps somehow. Take care of yourself out there. As always, I send you my love and light. Bye-bye.